Thank you for joining me today. Digi Dustin here, and I've had an epiphany of sorts. One so grand that I went from completely hating the new Digimon Adventure 2020 anime by the end of episode 4 to loving it at the end of episode 5. And it's not a change within the episodes that really brought this on, but listening to some feel good music, I started to change my mindset, started to look at things differently, and I feel like while there might be some things that the new anime is falling short on, I may have been overly harsh in my judgment. I have a habit of the more I love something, the more critical I am of it. So even though I knew I was going to be highly invested in the new anime, I also knew that I was going to be really harsh on it and I was going to nitpick about things. And throughout episode 4, following episodes 1 through 3, that was a reboot of our war game, and I talked about that and all of its shortcomings. I felt like in episode 4, it also very much wanted to leave all these Easter eggs for old viewers of Digimon. I felt like it really didn't reach out to new viewers, that it wasn't doing a good job of putting its story into effect so new viewers could come in and appreciate everything going on, and that really outside of the Easter eggs and the nostalgia factor, it really wasn't living up to be much. And outside of that, I felt like everything that the original did really well, that obviously the 2020 anime should have picked up on and should have pushed a step further with its new budget, with its better action scenes, and every time it seemed to not capture the essence of the original, and I was becoming more and more disheartened. If we just look at episode 4, one really powerful thing from the original that I enjoyed was that as we were introduced to the digital world, we saw how different it was from our own world. We saw cable cars that went to nowhere. We saw telephone poles that weren't connected. We saw phone booths on the beach. It really set the stage for this world, and it made it so different from our own while still having so many similarities. And another key aspect was that all of these children were transported to this world and they didn't know what to do. They didn't have a goal or anything of the sort. They were just trying to figure out what was going on in this hectic, chaotic world and trying to survive until eventually, after we acclimate to the situation, they were given a goal. And in episode 4, we get this lush, beautiful jungle, and the only thing we have to go on that it's not an actual jungle is some circuits in the air, which, yes, that tells us that it's digital of sorts, but there's not this clashing feeling of like telephone booths or telephone poles. It feels very crisp, clean, and an intentional world, which compared to cyberspace. So Digimon had cyberspace in the digital world previously, and the digital world had all these clashing things while cyberspace was very intentional, crisp, and clean. It was setting a contrast between the worlds they were creating. Now, with the new one, cyberspace actually feels a bit more cluttered than this very crisp, clean jungle that they presented us with, and that might actually be intentional. We'll see how they continue to present it. However, it wasn't just the world that had me feeling off, but also as soon as Tai and Sora really met up, Tai found a rock that shot an arrow of light at a mountain and said, "Go there." They immediately knew what to do. They weren't put off by being transported to this world. They weren't freaked out by the Digimon. It was all very just nonchalant, and they had their quest and they were going to go complete it. And throughout all of this, I was feeling like the new series was letting us down. It wasn't living up to what the old one did. It wasn't capturing its essence properly, even though it seemed to be trying with all these Easter eggs. However, I decided to take a step back and stop being a fan of Digimon for a moment and start thinking about all of the animes I really love. Code Geass, Iron Blooded Orphan, Steins Gate. There's tons of examples, and in all of these, generally the best animes have a really slow start. And the reason they have this slow start is they really want to build the world for you. They want to build the characters for you. They want to naturally have you get attached to them until they go full throttle. Well, Digimon being seen as somewhat of a kid show, even though a large majority of its audience is adults, it doesn't really feel like it has this time to go slowly. It has to pump out the action right away, which it's doing a good job of. It has to be entertaining, but I think that what they're doing is they're actually not going full throttle with their story just yet. They're allowing the story to intentionally be a little bit weak, but going hard with the action to keep us entertained and intentionally slamming characters into us, because it doesn't feel like we're what's a good way to put it? It doesn't feel like we're gently being introduced to these characters, and then through their mannerisms, through their character interactions and whatnot, we're learning about them. It feels like we're just hardball getting hit with these characters, like Izzy. Izzy shows up on a laptop, says that he has friends all over the world that tell him things, and he's into all of this technological jargon. Tai rushes ahead whenever he hears about danger. Sora is completely prepared with all of these tools and isn't fazed by the digital world at all, even though this would be her first time seeing Digimon. But while all of that feels really sloppy, if we think about this as a part of a larger show, one that might go on for a while, and not only that, but one that might not actually be trying to take after Adventure, because if we're being honest, while Adventure played its part with the characters really well, while the characters were really well written in Adventure 01, the story itself was very chopped up. Like every story beat felt completely separate from all of the other ones, and sometimes we got really good stories focused on the characters, and other times if it wasn't focused on the characters, chances are it wasn't that good. Now maybe the new anime is actually trying to stick to a very straightforward story, one where all of the story beats are interconnected, one where all of the villains might either have some relationship to each other or might lead into the next one in a more proper and intentional manner. And if we get these characters introduced to us in a sloppy way and we're just like force-fed them, while it might not feel the best at first, because we know the characters, it allows them going forward to have the ability to branch off with them more. It allows them to expand the character's story, since we're given such a large dose of information right away. And now I might be setting up Adventure 2020 to be far better than it is, and it could still go any sort of way. I'm not saying I have a prediction for where it's going. I'm not saying what I'm saying about it right now is what's going to happen, but it does seem like these children are being given a quest instead of adventure. They are given a task that they are being set out to do, and it might lead into a whole bunch more. We still have plenty of episodes just for character introductions alone, though, so we'll see how they handle them. We'll see if we're continued to have these characters just rammed right into us, which I fully expect. I fully expect next episode, which will revolve around Mimi, to fully get her sincerity and or purity, depending on how it's translated. Most likely purity, since it's all subbed right now. But yes, those are my impressions from episode 4 and episode 5 once I took a step back to really look at things. Now, even though I am far more hopeful about the series than I was previously, I still obviously am going to be overly critical of it because I do love Digimon, and since I love it, I want to look at it, I want to analyze it, I want to rip it apart and see everything that they could have done better. It's habit of mine that I really enjoy, and hopefully I'll be able to keep bringing you analyses like this. So for all of you that have been worried about the series so far, I do think that maybe you should continue to give it a chance, at least until the first season concludes, and see where we're left with. Alright guys, until next time, stay wholesome.